South Africa isn't looking much like South Africa these days. You have undocumented immigrants from other African failed states going to South Africa, taking over their sidewalks with these open markets. Check this out.
But like you have left your own countries. What is it that you are doing in South Africa? Why would you come and sell this in our land? Why would you come and sell these things in our country? When are you going to fix your own countries? When are you going to fix your own countries, Africans? When are you going to change your own government? When are you going to build Africa? When are you going to build this continent? We are a laughing stock. The world is laughing at us. The world is laughing at Africa. Africa, go home. Go and fix your countries.
The South African lady told them, hey, you need to go to your countries and fix your governments. Like, it shouldn't be South Africa's responsibility to take care of 53 countries, right? I seen this comedian, Godfrey, talking about Africans, continental Africans been around for 7 million years.
So, Africans are around 7 million years old.
Now, this message goes to all Africans. We've been blaming South Africans for showing a xenophobic image to different African people. I actually want to stand with South Africans today. What exactly are you people doing in South Africa with no documents? I would think that if someone is going to a country, they need to be documented actually. In the first place, when you live in your own country, you need to have documents that talk about you, where you're coming from. I'm kind of getting convinced that these people who come into countries without documents are the people that lead to crime rise, are the people that frame different crimes in the country where they go. What exactly took you to that country? So I want to ask you, it's not only South Africa actually, but everywhere you go, Africans, what exactly took you to that country? In the first place, people look for visas to go to different parts of the world. In this sense, the visa talks what took them there. But actually, some people go to South Africa for settlement. Like, they go to live for good. Did you actually pass through the legal terms set for you to seek asylum in that country? Or you just smuggled yourself into the country? Like someone moves from Ethiopia, Somalia to South Africa. That very long distance. And reaching South Africa, actually, they have nothing that talks about them. Well, if you have your documents from your homeland, then you need permission to live in South Africa. If this is not actually working on in South Africa. Let me ask you a question. Who has ever gone to USA without a visa? None. Actually, you go get visas and they allow you to go to such countries. So even in Africa, countries have different rules and regulations. You can't just smuggle yourself into a country and then you want to be treated equally and you want to enjoy everything without even permission of living in that country. People need permissions. Ever since borders were created, countries were established, the law was established, the laws govern countries respectively. So it means if you visit another country, whether it's in Africa or not, there are laws that govern that country. So those laws define that country. There is no country just to go to and then you find yourself settlement without even any permission. It's abnormal actually. We are all Africans, but that's abnormal. You know, you find people in those areas. You don't just say we found bare land. Guys, are you nomads? Are you looking for pastures? Moving up and down. Somalis, Ethiopians. Let me ask you questions. Yes, we know that people have instabilities in their countries. Yes, that's right. It's understandable, yeah. But then going to some other place, you must be permitted. You don't just come in and for you, they should have mercy on you. They should feel pity for you because you're facing challenges in your country. The biggest unlawfulness is caused by non-citizens. Just because they're not documented, they can easily get lost in the space. You can't trace them because they're not documented. They can do crime at any cost. There is no way you say, yes, we are Nigerians, we help South Africa in some way or the other to attain its freedom, so we're supposed to live in South Africa with freedom of any kind. South Africa is a sovereign country. So you go to South Africa to abide by the rules and regulations, the law that governs South Africa. The reason why you don't want to get documented is because you want to engage in crime continuously.
Abanjalo na. Sibasize la.
September. Yes, ayikho kulenja.
Una 5 years.
Una 5 years.
Ndoda njengoba ingaka nje na 5 years.
Usuku la 0. Nala expired nala amaphepha akhe lawo.
Siyacela ngimthetho udlala yawo.
2025-04-16.
Walaba bangalena awafani iminyaka ayifani neyalana. Mabhuti ngichazele. Unyaka wangale neminyaka yangala ayifani. Uthola ukuthi umuntu olingana nami uzalwa yena ngo-1964. Iminyaka yabo ihlehlile ayifani neyethu.
Mana
Kodwa ngeke ngichazele ukuthi leyo uzoyithola
okay, siyabona ke passport
Imali sesikakhuluma sonke khuluma yethu.
naye. Mina bengichazela nje kulokweminyaka engibuza ubhuti ukuthi basithathela kanjalo eHome Affairs.
Kodwa kwamanje angithi lo usecontrivinile njengoba expired into.
We can't have an informal settlement where over 65% of its citizens are undocumented foreign citizens in our own country. It must come to an end. We must be very firm on these things. And no one must characterize this otherwise. There is no country that can agree that you have people that you don't know who they are, where they come from, where they sleep, what they do, and they're in our country doing as they wish. That period of honeymoon must come to an end. We must be very firm. You document yourself or you leave us in peace. And it has nothing to do, comrades, with any characterization of our character. Everyone knows our Ubuntu, but our Ubuntu cannot be abused. Everyone knows our willingness to work with those that are willing to develop our country, but we can't surrender our country to criminals. And therefore, comrades, and I've said it this to Comrade President Ramaphosa, I've said it this to the relevant ministers. If we can't formally take a decision on how best we manage this situation, we must forget about everything that we want to do. Our hospitals are overflowing when South Africans are requested to come with an ID document to identify themselves. They don't have to identify themselves but expect to be serviced. It creates problems across. And we are not raising it for purpose of political experience of other political parties. We are raising it for purpose of law and order and the sovereignty of our own country. We can't surrender it.
This whole issue of illegal immigrants in the country, I find it totally unacceptable and insulting to us as a country. And I think for anybody to think you can divert my attention to illegality and the rule of law, because anyone who comes into South Africa illegally and you live for years without documentation and you expect us as South Africans to keep quiet about it, I think unfortunately I can assure you it'll happen the day when God has decided to separate my soul and body. For as long as I'm alive, I can talk about these issues. I'm going to. But who do I blame? It's the Department of Home Affairs. It's not our poor people coming from all over the world taking advantage of the lawlessness in this country. This is the core of this problem. It's Home Affairs. If you look at the level of corruption, that is actually quite well known. Look at what happened to the Guptas when they opened a television station, written about how Home Affairs were officially bringing Indian people to come and work in South Africa with tourist visas to come and work for television station, exploited. You look at going to the city of Johannesburg, even up to today, when I was at the mayor, you remember there were some buildings which were declared no-go areas, and I said, it is not going to happen in the city I run. I would really go. The police, I remember GMPD and sometimes they really get very nervous because I would not really hesitate. I would learn of some illegal activity happening in a particular building, and then the police would tell me, it's a no-go area. I'll say, okay, it's okay. If you guys as a police, you're too scared to go in, I'm going in. So I knew they would follow me, and they will follow me. We'll go in there, get torches, get criminals out of there. I think for me, this question of illegality is unacceptable. That is why, for me, I believe we've got to give South African first must be our motto as a country. But at the same time, I know and accept the fact that this country was built at the back of immigrants, and we've got to encourage people of the world to come and visit, invest in this country, because not especially after this imminent collapse of our economy, we're going to need international investments. We've got to attract investments, but I can assure you, there's no way we will ever get investments when we don't ourselves as a country respect the rule of law.
Welcome back to Gist9. So recently, a lot of people have been talking about the mass deportation of undocumented foreigners in South Africa, and many of them say this move feels long overdue. Now on social media, South Africans are saying that they've had enough. That's enough of foreigners that keep coming into their country without proper papers, and these people are committing crimes and still walking free like nothing happened. So people are frustrated that the government has not been strict enough over the years, and they believe that this relaxed attitude has made the situation even worse. Now South Africans, they have been complaining that undocumented foreigners are part of the reason that crime is so high in the country, from robberies to drug dealing to illegal mining. Many of them feel like some of these foreigners are the ones that are even behind these criminal activities, and yet nothing much happens to them. So people are angry because they believe that these individuals are taking advantage of a weak system, and they come in without proper documents. They get involved in shady deals, and in situations that they get caught, they either bribe their way out or are released without serious punishment. Now, as the government begins a mass deportation drive, many South Africans are finally breathing a sigh of relief. They see this as a step in the right direction. And when you come on social media, people are openly supporting the move. They are saying the government should have done this a long time ago. That if Nigeria can do it, why can't we? And that's what a lot of people are asking. And that question is not just random, because just recently, Nigeria's Immigration Service announced a nationwide crackdown on foreigners who have overstayed their visas. The Nigerian government made it clear, very clear, that anyone that refuses to regularize their stay will be arrested and deported. And the policy came right after the end of a government amnesty program, meaning that foreigners had already been given a chance to fix their papers, and if you ignore it, Nigerians are backing the immigration service for taking such a firm stand. And if you don't even do this, there is a fine. There is a fine that is attached to it, and after some time, if you disobey this, I think they'll ban you for 2 years or thereabouts. So this is exactly what many South Africans want to see from their own governments. Not they want to see illegal immigrants arrested, processed and deported if they don't have valid papers. And to them, this is not about hating other Africans or promoting xenophobia. It's about protecting their country, their safety and their economy. So some South Africans have shared real stories of how undocumented foreigners have affected their communities. For example, there are areas where locals say drug dealers from outside South Africa, they have taken over the streets, and others complain about unregistered foreigners taking over small businesses, pushing locals out of the markets and not paying taxes. And in some neighborhoods, locals say police are too scared or too corrupt to act, which allows these crimes to continue. And to be fair, not all foreigners in South Africa are criminals. Let's be sincere. There are thousands that came in legally, work hard, contribute positively to society. But the problem is with those that claim, or those that came in illegally, without visas, without identification, and without respect for the country's laws. And when crime happens, the people responsible can't even be traced because they are undocumented, and it becomes a serious national issue. Many South Africans, they believe that it's time to clean up the system. They want proper border control, stricter visa checks, and real action, not empty promises. They say South Africa has been too soft or too long, and that has allowed people to take advantage of their hospitality. And interestingly, this push for deportations is not just about crime, it's also about unemployment and the struggling economy. South Africans, they argue that undocumented foreigners are competing for jobs that locals should have. In a country where millions are unemployed, this has become a very sensitive issue. People feel like their own government has been ignoring their pain while they're busy protecting outsiders. Well, many South Africans are not against foreigners from what they're saying. They're just against lawlessness. They want their government to do what every responsible country does: control who enters, who stays, and who leaves. And Nigeria's recent immigration crackdown showed that it can be done. So South Africans want that same level of seriousness from their own leaders. So, as the deportation process continues, South Africans are tired of talking. They want results. They want their government to take charge and protect the country's border for them. And for them, this is not about division, it's about survival. Well, do you think the mass deportation of foreigners from South Africa is okay, or do you think it's not okay? Well, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if today is your first time joining my channel, please kindly like, share, and subscribe.
Some of them are arguing from a xenophobia. We're not arguing from a... People must come to our country legally. People must come to our country legally. The ones that are sitting here illegally in the country, surely we should be sending them home. We should be sending... Our resources are limited. We've had an economy which has been declining since 2014, and per capita has also been declining. When I say per capita, I mean one person for South Africans, I don't including others. Our rand is declining compared to what we've had. Now we've got others, we're claiming in the same rand. That thing should be discussed objectively. As I'm about to read what says, or urbanization. Added to this dilemma of these people, there's massive internal urbanization, which I'm talking to the issues you're referring to. You've all got all the squatter camps, and people go into a squatter camp. They become first in the queue, and there's somebody who has been in a backyard for years. Because they put themselves in front of the TV, they get services ahead of others. I think as political parties we need to discuss the culture. And two things we need to discuss as political parties. How are services going to be rendered if there's not going to be revenue raising? Municipalities can raise levies. National government can raise taxes. How are we going to serve this service of a growing population? That discussion needs attention.
Johannesburg, henye vurboots engazange ndayibona. And Dada, you and your team, you can't leave that struggle and that challenge to the opposition. You can't leave that challenge to people who are xenophobes. That struggle must be led by us. Must be led by us. I was a minister of police, I know. I used to come here with Herman Mashab. He was the mayor. I used to come here with the police. We get into buildings. These people, when we take them out of the building, South Africa. And then I'm minister, what is batin? Johannesburg must be assisted working with Home Affairs. Laba bantu masibagoduze. Abangana maphepha masibagoduze. Or sibabeke somewhere midway. Siba process mamela. So because they don't have papers. They steal your watch, your everything, do petty crime, disappear in those buildings. You won't find them anywhere. And Johannesburg is hit by that.
Border Management Authority Commissioner Michael Masiapato says resources are stretched even as teams work to stop drug smuggling and illegal immigration. He says new technology is key to fighting cross-border crime. Masiapato is leading a South African delegation meeting with their Eswatini counterparts about border crime prevention. And Mweli Masilela is live for us from Budplas with the latest. Mweli, good morning. So the issues are myriad and they're going to have to choose what are the top priorities, and what are those?
Yes, Iman, quite a number of issues, but mainly about the issue of border management. You'll know that South Africa and Eswatini have been cooperating for a long time in as far as clamping down on criminal activities is concerned. But of course, it's not only about that. We know that these are trading partners also for the longest time. So the movement of goods as well as people between the two countries is very important, looking into the future as well. That is why Dr. Mike Masiapato, they're emphasizing that improvement in technology is very important, not only for the movement of goods and persons, but also to monitor the criminal activities along the borderline. We'll know that there's been quite a number of operations involving both law enforcement agencies of South Africa and Eswatini. Just a few months ago, to be exact, August, there was an operation conducted by the law enforcement officers from both countries when a police officer, Sergeant Lawrence Mtweni, was shot and killed in Skumansdal, which is an area near the Eswatini border post. And those suspects, Iman, were actually found to be in the kingdom of Eswatini. And through that operation, they managed to actually eliminate those suspects after they allegedly shot at the police. You look at the issue of South African rapper Kenan Forbes, who was also killed. Some of those suspects were actually found in Eswatini, also showing that there is cooperation between the two countries. But of course, the key focus now is saying that as much as there are these successes, Iman, there should be proactive measures. If someone commits a crime in South Africa and runs into Eswatini, there should be systems in place to be able to detect even before these people cross into the kingdom of Eswatini. So those will be part of the discussion in as far as the engagements are concerned here. But also we're expecting the Commissioner of the Police in the Kingdom of Eswatini, Vusi Manoma Masango, to be part of this gathering or engagement today. But unfortunately, we are told that he's engaged in other national activities in his country. But of course, we are told there will be a delegation that will be sent to be part of these engagements. And also, we are hoping, Iman, that we'll get an update in terms of the statistics, because there is a concern to say that in terms of drug smuggling, Eswatini is seen as a route now in terms of transit of these drugs. You will know that just recently in Volkskraft there was that discovery of a 350 million rand drug lab, and the suspects there also being five foreign nationals from Mexico, for example. It's not known as to how did they make their way into South Africa. So those are some of the concerns, to say that in looking into the future, what is it that can be done to clamp down on those criminal activities? But of course, as you have rightly put it, the Border Management Authority saying that they are doing their best to actually combat crime. But in terms of resources, they are struggling. Iman, more should be pumped into those actually strategies to ensure that this issue is dealt with not only between South Africa and Eswatini, but also other neighboring countries.
Some of the MK members have been tackling illegal foreigners going to places. So what is he has to say? What is his stance? Bongozi Kanyile says, well, no comment. And I've been saying this for the longest time, DT. The people that you will see active going around saying, hi Tina, as MK we don't want illegal foreigners, are the ones that are on the ground. The people that in leadership, you've never heard even one, not even one. You've never heard them stand in a pulpit and announce their stance. They are cowards. They are afraid to say, this is our real stand. We don't support this. They are cowards. Instead, you've never seen them release a statement. You've never seen them. But also, I blame the journalists. I felt like the journalists, okay, I don't want to say that they don't do their job, but they should make it a point that they get a comment from the leadership of MK on this stance. So Bongozi Kanyile says, of course, he says no comment. I know exactly what he's thinking and what he's saying, but he knows that if he says exactly what he thinks, of course people are going to throw tantrums. He's saying no comment, no comment.